Tandem Nomads, episode 287. It's Tandem Nomads' 7th year in business. What a journey. What a journey. And this is probably the most important anniversary of all the anniversaries of Tandem Nomads. So I wanted to share with you some of the big highlights, the behind the scenes, the challenges, and the big transformations that happened, but that might also happen in the future. So I'm lifting the curtains. Let's dive into the past 7 years together. Hello and welcome to Tandem Nomads, the podcast show and entrepreneurship platform where you can find great inspiration and resources to grow a successful portable business that is aligned with your lifestyle and your needs. This is your host, Ahmed Dereki. I'm a business marketing coach and the founder of Tandem Nomads. Oh my God, I've been waiting for this episode and wondering how I'm going to take this. How I'm going to share with you all the things I'd love to share with you about the past 7 years spent together. So if you're listening to this podcast since the beginning, I just want you to know how much I'm grateful for you. And I'm also grateful for each of you who have joined along the journey. So today I want to share with you a little bit of the behind the scenes of what has happened along these 7 years. And I will basically share with you, first of all, what has evolved, what are the highlights and the wins, but also the challenges and the learnings. I will also share with you some of the things that might happen moving forward in Tandem Nomads world and in my world. Everything is hanging, but I still want to update you a little bit, so stay tuned until the end. And I need to let you know that I have a lot of people to thank, and while thanking them, I actually also share a little bit of their role in this journey. So I'm going to split this episode into 2 parts. In this one, I'm going to share with you the more practical aspects, but hopefully you'll tune into the next episode as well, the second part, where I mention all the important people that play the role in Tandem Nomads. Growth does not happen alone. We need to surround ourselves with the right people. So make sure to not miss the next episode right after this one. One of the points that I want to cover with you, which is what has evolved in 7 years. How did the business evolve in 7 years? And this is where I'm also lifting the curtain. And I would divide it in a few pieces. But among the things that evolved, the first one and the most important one is me. I would not be the same Amel if it was not for this business. I would not be who I am. I feel like I've completely transformed thanks to this business. It pushed me to really tackle all my blind spots, to tackle my confidence issues, to tackle my limiting beliefs. And honestly, I'm still dealing with that, and I'll tell you more about it later. But I can't tell you how much I've grown thanks to this business, and I'm just a different person. So that's the first thing that evolved. But let's talk about business now. The other thing that has evolved is the business model of Tandem Nomads. And I think that's one thing that I don't think I've ever shared. I don't know. I do share a lot of behind the scenes, but Tandem Nomads, and I love to work with my clients on their business models. And that's one thing that I think it's where a lot of things start. Besides defining who you want to serve, you want to know how you want to serve them. And defining a business model that works for you, that's portable. That's my thing, right? But even once you figure out the portability aspect, how to make your business aligned with your lifestyle, and make it sure that it's location independent, there's also one thing to consider is that you need to constantly be in tune with your market, be in tune with what's happening. And boy, how many challenges and changes we've been through in the past 7 years on the market of Tandem Nomads, but also in general, globally, we've been through so much. And I'll talk about some of the pivots. But I'm just going to take you through the major steps of Tandem Nomads evolution. So when I started Tandem Nomads, first of all, I started the podcast without being 100% sure if there was even a business possible out of this. Most important for me was to put my message out there and support the expat spouses around the world and motivate them, encourage them in seeing all the possibilities, all the opportunities to turn their career challenges into a successful portable business so that they can continue to have their own source of fulfillment and their own source of revenue and financial independence. So I've started, first of all, by just doing the podcast for a year without making any revenue. And then I started realizing, okay, the first problem I can solve for them is help them find a business idea, because a lot of them didn't even know what kind of business they wanted to launch. So the big product, the big signature product of Tandem Nomads was a program called the Business Idea Accelerator. And this is a program that I co-created with Sunday Bean, who's a transition and a strategy coach, and she's just been amazing to work with and so much fun to work with. She brought the life coaching aspect, I brought the marketing and business aspect, and we brought that together and transformed it into this program called the Business Idea Accelerator. It was a huge piece for the first couple of years. It was just one of the biggest part of the revenue of Tandem Nomads. And then slowly I started developing my coaching, my one-on-one coaching services to help those who are, so the BIA, the Business Idea Accelerator, was an online course, but then the next step after that is to actually launch the business. And that's when I started developing my one-on-one coaching programs, and I started to see repetitions. I started to see a lot of things that were redundant that I was repeating from a client to another, and I realized I could turn this into my framework, which is the 3C system. So that's when I started coming up with the 3C system and some other small minor frameworks within the big framework to actually teach the process of creating a successful portable business step by step. And I've turned that into an online course and my next signature program that is called the Portable Business Accelerator. Once I've launched the Portable Business Accelerator that teaches the foundations, then I could really focus on the one-on-one support. So I provide the Portable Business Accelerator to all my coaching clients. But then it really helps me really focus the coaching sessions with my clients through this new program, the next step that I've developed over the years, that's called the Business Growth Accelerator. That was the third level after the BIA, the PBA, and comes then the BGA, Business Growth Accelerator, which is the program where I work one-on-one with my clients, either 3 months, 6 months, or 1 year, to be their sparring partner. It's not just about teaching them the fundamentals. It's also for those who already have a business but want to have a sparring partner. The entrepreneurial journey can be such a lonely journey, and it's sometimes important for the growth to not only have a accountability partner, but also somebody who has the technical and the marketing knowledge and the mindset knowledge, somebody who's one step ahead of you or a few steps ahead of you to be able to build that business, reach those goals. So this is how I evolved over time from offering online course about how to find a business idea, then developed another course on the foundations of the portable business, and then started focusing from really working with online courses and group coaching to really focusing my energy on a few clients per year instead of many clients per year to make the same revenue. Actually, I made even more revenue by the end of this process by just working with a small amount of clients, 10 to 12 per year, instead of trying to reaching a lot of people. I realized if I wanted to create a business that really was aligned with my energy, with what I wanted to do and all the things going on in my life, I needed to focus on just a small pool of clients. And this is how I developed like a 3 months or 6 months or 1 year program. And most of my clients actually would renew, end up working with me 1 year, and some of them even more, because they love having that sparring partner. So even if I don't teach them anymore or anything, we just continue making the business evolve to what's happening in their industry. So this is one of the things that has been evolving a lot. The big shift as well of Tandem Nomads was when COVID has hit. I had to make huge pivots. The first pivot I made was to actually help everybody pivot, but I also had to pivot. I've lost my corporate clients. Another thing I did not mention is that alongside with the Business Idea Accelerator, I've also decided to be able to reach even more people to sell this online program to organizations such as the Ministry of Foreign Affairs of Belgium, that was one of my biggest clients. I also provided this to other organizations along the way, but I really loved my partnership with the Ministry of Foreign Affairs of Belgium because they were so much, especially Hildegard, who was the family officer, was so engaged in the process of supporting the spouses of their diplomats. So I've lost a huge contract that was making over 50% of my revenue at the time because it was really big. Maybe not 50% when I think about it, but it was a huge chunk of money. And I had to replace that revenue. And that's where suddenly I realized that with the BGA, Business Growth Accelerator, I not only managed to compensate that revenue, but to actually grow my business even more than what it was when I had corporate clients and organization clients. So COVID was a huge challenge, but at the same time, a huge opportunity to shift my business in a way that allowed me to actually grow the business and go from majority of corporate revenue to working with a small amount of clients one-on-one. And now it's very interesting because I've been developing within the Business Growth Accelerator, which is my one-on-one coaching program, 3 stages. And I can tell you a little bit about it now. The first one is I have a business idea. I know exactly what I want to do, but I don't know where to start. So helping them kick off their business, it goes alongside with the online course, but having somebody along the side to make the decisions that are more personalized. So this is what the first phase is about, having a business idea, not knowing where to start. The second one is for those, and more my clients are in that stage as well, who already have a business, but they either have a challenge to create consistent revenue or want to take it to the next level, or they have a big goal and they don't have a strategy to make it happen. But the biggest thing here is all about how to make sure that the business model is aligned with the lifestyle. And I'll tell you more about Tandem Nomads shift in terms of positioning in a bit, but it has to do with that as well, that second package. And the third level that I've been experimenting with this year, and it was amazing, was to actually start working with entrepreneurs, small business owners who have a team, and helping them in building the system so that they can onboard their new team members, so that they can automate better. And I actually not only work with the entrepreneur, but also with the team members so that I can train them and guide them and coach them and free up some time to the entrepreneur to not have to do it themselves. So I'm basically not only their sparring partner, where we have one-on-one coaching sessions alone, and sometimes more workshops and training programs with the team. And sometimes it's just what I call check-in calls. I do check-in calls with the team to keep them accountable and make sure that they reach their goals. And basically, I'm just here to support the entrepreneur, to be their sparring partner, but also to make the management of the team a bit easier for them. And I've been loving this part this year. It's been just very exciting and interesting. This is something completely new that I didn't do before. So this is how the business model evolved. The clients as well evolved, as you know, or maybe didn't know if you listened to this the first time, but Tandem Nomads initially was all focused on the niche of expat spouses. And since COVID, it's just been a huge shift. I continue to work with expat partners around the world, but I can see the shift in the mindset of these expat partners who don't even consider themselves as expats or expat spouses. They are entrepreneurs, and that's it, first of all. But I also started attracting, since COVID, more and more clients who, after the lockdown, are just done with a corporate life. They are done with leading a hectic life, all of the service of the company, and no time for their family. So I do work a lot with people, and especially women, who want to leave their jobs and to live up to their full potential with their special skills by creating their own business, or people who have had a business, but it's not aligned with their lifestyle. So I really help them redesign their whole business model so that they can really align their business with who they are, their values, and their lifestyle. So basically, what has happened, and this is the biggest evolution of Tandem Nomads, is that I used to be the go-to expert for the portable business and the location-independent business to be able to live from a country to another and travel. That was my big positioning, where I managed to create a brand and a name, and this is why people come to me for. to now slowly, although it's exactly the same thing that I provide, but the messaging is very different because it's about not only traveling, the portable business is not just about traveling, but in general about aligning your business with your lifestyle and your needs so that you can create financial independence, but without sacrificing your well-being and your priorities in life. And if you've been following me for the past years, I'm all about that. I don't have kids, but 90% of my clients have children. Even the men have kids, and they're the stay-at-home dads with a business. And I love when I have these sessions with my clients with their babies on their laps. It's just so good. So I don't have kids, but I had a lot of family not obligations. I chose to make it a priority to be with my family at the important moments of my life. So for me, that was a trigger to really shift my business and change my business model to work with less clients, but make more revenue. And this is what I help as well my clients do, is how do we shift the business model so that it works for you? So the shift and evolution of positioning has also led to a lot of content evolution. I don't know if you've been listening to this podcast for a long time, but I have also been shifting a little bit the introduction of Tandem Nomads. I've been shifting the type of guests we have on the show. And we talk more and more as well about mindset, because I realize over the time that marketing is an amazing way to build the business we want, but we can't implement any of those strategies if we don't deal with some of the mindset locks that stop us. So I realized that when I work with my clients, I would say 50% of the work we do is also mindset and not just marketing. I can see how mindset can make a difference between somebody succeeding and not. So it's really important as well for me to help my clients see their blind spots and push them through their comfort zone and their limiting beliefs. And this is what I try to translate as well in the podcast show and the evolution of the podcast. And finally, I'll talk real quick in terms of evolutions. I've mentioned it briefly, but the biggest thing that has been impacting Tandem Nomads is all the pivots, as I said, that I had to do initially with COVID, and then also with Ukraine and my own personal challenges in my life. So my message here is how important it is to constantly be agile, to be ready to shift very quickly, to shift your content, to shift your marketing, to shift your products, to shift your business model. So make sure that you are constantly listening to the market and evolving according to it, because if you're not evolving, then you get stuck. And if I try to do the business as I did it when I started with the BIA, I wouldn't be able to be where I am now. So that's basically the biggest message I want to share with you about this. And my learning here is make sure to listen to your market and react fast when something happens, and don't just go under the rock and wait for things when there's a turmoil to pass. You need to be a leader. You need to show up. And this is something that I've been trying to do a lot during this past years. Whenever something happened, it started with Black Lives Matter, with COVID, with Ukraine. And I had to actually take a hit financially sometimes and make a sacrifice and pause the launch of a program just because I felt that was more of a priority to support my community and my audience through these important shifts, and then later come back to them with a better support or product that really fits. I remember that I even started, for instance, a new program called the Bootcamp just because I realized that people were just exhausted and they needed something fast to make quick decisions. So in just 4 weeks, I helped my clients come up with 9 important decisions and implement them right away. So be attentive to your market and be flexible and willing to shift very quickly, which means that you won't have everything perfect, that you will mess up with some things, but it's better to start somewhere and move forward instead of trying to wait for the perfect moment to do things perfectly. All right, now I want to share with you, now that I shared with you how the business evolved, I want to share with you some of the top highlights of the past 7 years and the things that I want to celebrate, the wins. So the first one, undeniable, and I could make a whole episode about that, and but I'm going to refrain, but the big one is like the amount of stories that I have from my clients and the breakthroughs that they had from working together and seeing them open up, seeing them lighten up, seeing them transform into another person thanks to their business, just like I did, has just been the biggest source of fulfillment for me. It started with, for instance, having clients calling me during a transition from a country to another and say, oh my God, Amel, I can't believe that I just packed my stuff, moved to this other country, and now I just arrived 2 days later. I continue to do my thing like nothing happened. It's just so liberating. So this is one of the first things that was amazing, but also seeing my clients leave their jobs, supporting them through their transition from having an important job to suddenly having the courage to quit and start something new. This takes so much courage, and it's been amazing. But the biggest stories that moved me was the stories of my clients telling me how it impacted their life, their relationship with their husbands, their relationship with their kids, the quality time they had with their loved ones, their family, their friends. It meant the world to me. So I could share one-on-one those examples, but for me, these are the biggest highlights that keep me going. The second big highlight was my experience working with the Minister of Belgium. I have to say, I just loved the impact we made at a bigger scale. I think we trained about 50 people through the BIA, Sunday and I, through the BIA, working in collaboration with the Minister of Belgium. So I want to thank Hildegard for trusting us through that. That was so much fun. But I also did some extra work with them where I was flown in to the ministry in Belgium to speak, present, support, do some workshops. It's been so much fun to do that. And also another thing that I loved and some of the highlights of Tandem Nomads was all the online meetups and the online parties I've been doing with the community, with the clients and the listeners. And those are your newsletter. I sometimes just did some spontaneous parties online where we would dress up, and it was so much fun. I did that as well a lot with Sunday Bean. We would always celebrate each cohort we would train with a huge online party. It was so much fun. So I'm smiling, and for me, the key word of everything I do is to inject fun in everything I do and bring fun to the experience of my clients. And dancing is one of those things that helps me to lift up. So when I do it with my audience, with my clients, it just makes everything lighter. Like, I just don't know. It's just part of who I am, and I want to share that through my work with my clients. And I think that's also what helps me attract the right people, is just being myself. And I'm somebody who likes to be silly sometimes, dress up like a pirate or dance in the middle of a session with a client. And so this has bringing me joy. So think about it in your situation. What can you do? What are those little things that illustrate your personality and who you are? And how can you inject that in the way you support your clients and the way you work and throughout the customer journey of your clients? I think it will be worth thinking about it and just have fun with it. Like, don't try to fit to a mold. Be yourself. And that's what I loved about this part. Other big highlights in plural, were all the speaking engagements. So I did not know that that was a thing for me to be able to enjoy being on stage. I was so afraid the first times, but I got to speak on amazing stages around the world in New York, Washington, D.C., Belgium, Austria, South Korea. I can't even list all the countries, but these are some of the main ones. I also spoke on some major stages and organizations such as the stages of the IMF, the World Bank, the UN Spouses Organization in New York. This was amazing. And I also got featured on amazing magazines. And for me, it's quite something. And I had to work on my own, self-esteem here because I was almost ashamed. That's another thing I can talk about, limiting beliefs. But I made 3 cover of magazines in the past 7 years. And one of them was Forbes magazines called Forbes Dach, which is in the German-speaking region, Austria, Germany, and Switzerland. And they made a special feature on women empowerment. And I was on that cover. And on top of it, they flew me in from New York to Austria to speak to their big women empowerment summit. That was like a huge honor and a huge highlight of this journey. And the recognition from such a platform like Forbes was just so big. So that was also another big highlight. And one big thing that I want to share and I want to celebrate is that in 2021, when I had to move and support my family, I managed to shift, like I said, my business model, and that allowed me to actually work only 6 months full time during that year of 2021. I was basically half of the year not working much besides focusing on one-on-one clients, but that was about it. All the rest, I could pause and slow down. But I managed to do that while still growing my revenue that year, which was amazing. And this year, I managed to take 2 months off, completely off. And I spent 1 full month traveling through all my old homes and seeing all my childhood friends. And that was a huge highlight. It was a personal highlight, important thing for me. I also took my mom for holidays to help her as well find her new home. So I had a lot of quality time, which I was dreaming of. And that was a personal highlight, but possible thanks to this business. So these were some of the things that I wanted to celebrate these past years. But a lot of the time when you look at the celebrations, I think it's important to look at all the challenges behind that, right? It was not all pink and happy. And in order to have those wins, I had to go through some of those challenges. So real quick, although I could stay hours on that, but if you've been listening to the podcast, I've tried to be as authentic as possible. Not all the time, because I'm not here to be a Debbie Downer, but whenever I went through a major hardship, I would share it with you. So one of the early stages of Tandem Nomads, my husband and I were trying to have a baby. It didn't work out. It was a really hard time that led me to really struggle with depression. And then shortly after that, my dad started being sick. So mental health and energy was a big thing that I struggled with along the journey. But also one thing I never talked about, and I'm not feeling 100% comfortable to talk about it, but I'll go ahead because this is a big thing that I'm tackling right now, which is I'm really struggling. It's funny. I do think that although I've never been diagnosed, I do have dyslexia and attention deficit. So my whole life since childhood, I've struggled with focus, and I've struggled with the speed that things take me to achieve. And like the minor tasks can take so much time, and I struggled so much with it that I remember sometimes I would bang my head against the wall, and just Michael would come back home from work and he would just find me crying. And honestly, if there's one challenge that I wish I had a magic wand, it would be this one. If I could just remove these focus issues that I have, when I'm always distracted and have to battle the way my brain goes 100 kilometers an hour. That exhausts me. So this was a big challenge of mine, but I have to say that I compensated it with automation and delegation. And this is why I have a powerful team, and I've learned to build and onboard a team effectively. And this is why my motto at the end of each episode is turning challenges into opportunities. My biggest challenge is my attention deficit and dyslexia and all these things. And I've turned it into an opportunity to become great at delegating and building a team. And now I'm actually building a whole program to support entrepreneurs to do that as well, because I realize this is not a natural thing. A lot of entrepreneurs struggle to start building their team. So that was another big challenge. And another one that I talked about a bit in the past, but I'm still working on, I feel like I reached a certain ceiling in my business, and it has nothing to do with strategy. I'm feeling a little bit in a time where I wouldn't say stuck, but I feel like I reached a certain ceiling, and that is what I'm working on a lot. I can tell you more about it later, but it's all about mindset. So I'm really working a lot now, surrounding myself with coaches, with experts, with meditation, a lot of work on my mindset and past traumas to be able to continue to build the big business that I want to build. So the journey is almost just starting for me right now, because I really want to continue to live up to my ambitions. I wanted to live up to my potential, just like I want it for my clients. And the more I work on myself, the better I'll be able to support my clients, and I see it every day. The more I learn, the more I grow, the more my support to my clients is getting better and better and better. But it's hard. It is hard. And there's some days where honestly, I really struggle because I have to question so many things about the way I used to think. And which leads me to my learnings. The last piece here of what I'm sharing with you is my learnings. I transformed, like I said, so much as a person, and I had to learn one thing is to be more flexible with some of my belief systems and the way I work and function. So the first learning thing that I learned is It's not all about formulas, systems, and strategies. Can you believe I'm saying that? So if you know me well, you know that I'm all about step by step, step 1, step 2, step 3, and go and run with it, right? And I've always wanted that. I always wanted that for myself. That's why I'm such a process person and systematic person, because I wish people would have just given me the blueprint when I started, and I'm trying to give this to my clients. And as much as that's really important to have a blueprint, but also a flexible blueprint, I don't want a blueprint, like it's not a all-in-one solution that fits everybody. I'm all about understanding the fundamentals of building a successful business, but making sure that we can be flexible and adapt those strategies. And this is why the Portable Business Accelerator online course it has modules that you choose. You don't have to go through all of this. You just choose the strategies that work for you. Instead of telling you this is the one way to do it and you run with it. You will see a lot of coaches on the market specialize on online courses, specialize on Facebook ads, specialize on social media, specialize on that and that. I want to keep the broad spectrum so that I can help people adapt their strategy to work for them. And honestly, I wish I found that coach for myself. I still haven't found that person. So somebody who can work with me and personalize the strategies to who I am. But despite of that, the way I teach is step by step. The way I want to learn is step by step. And the biggest learning that I had to do was to allow a bit more flexibility and realize that it's not only about process. It's also about the energy and the attitude. The energy in which we show up, the way we vibrate influences so much how we show up in the business and how people relate to us. So we can have a shitty marketing strategy and still be very successful if we have the right attitude, the right energy, and the mindset. So I think it's really important to realize that as well. Good marketing is important, but even more important is to really show up with the energy you need. But also very important is to be in alignment. When you meet people who are aligned, which means they know exactly what they want and who have a clear vision and who are so driven by that vision and that mission, when they're 100% aligned with who they are and what they want to do, things open up. You attract the right things to you, and your marketing strategy and your processes will help you amplify that power and that impact. But when you're aligned, things happen. You manifest what you need for yourself when you're in complete alignment. And this is why I've chosen it as my key word and my signature word in a lot of the things that I do recently. So work on mindset is very important, and I had to learn a lot about that. And the other big belief I need to give up on was and this one is so big. I could make another chapter or a book about this, but I'm still processing, so I'm not going to go deep into it. The biggest belief I had to give up in order to take my business to the next level is hard work. Hard work was the biggest belief that even my father taught me. And obviously, when we've learned some values from our childhood, it's hard to give up those values. And I did not realize how hard work has actually been a value that has been making me make everything hard when things could be easy. And it's been such a journey to change that biggest value that I had in my life, hard work, into ease, into choosing the word ease. Everything can be easy when we want it to be easy. So, when you make such big shifts, it sounds so simple, but it actually creates a huge identity crisis because, as I said, I'm not the same person. So I've learned a lot about how important it is to actually choose our values, the values that serve us for the moment and for the goals we have, and choose the attitude we want to show up with, and choose the thoughts. I talk a lot about that. Choose the thoughts that serve you. And this is why I've been repeating this so much in the past episodes. So I've been doing a lot of work on myself this year. I don't think it's a coincidence that it is at the same time as my dad passed away. I think that when we have major traumas and major shifts in our life, it leads us to question a lot of things. So one thing that I didn't have to question was whether I loved my business and the way it was working. But at the same time, I realized that I have evolved as a person and I need my business to reflect that evolution. And the one thing that I've really started already doing, and you'll see more of it, is to choose the value and the key word that I am focusing all my work around, which is the word alignment and impact. I am so passionate about that, about making sure that we are aligning our business with our lifestyle, our priorities, what matters to us, without giving up our ambition. And actually, for me, alignment is ambitious because people usually either choose one or the other. How ambitious does it take to be able to actually do both? And I think it's possible. And it's possible to do that without breaking yourself. I'm all about breaking the glass ceiling without breaking yourself. So a lot of learnings that happened to me in that area in the past year. It wasn't easy, to be honest with you. I had some tough days and what my coaches call identity disintegration. I really had like a big moment where I didn't know who I am anymore. And then that sometimes you need to break. One of my first mentors told me many years ago, you need sometimes to break yourself so that you can build that more strong person you want to be. So for me to be able to take my business to the next level, I had to do that. And this year I've been a bit quieter. I have not done a lot of launches because I needed to focus on that. And what came out of it is pretty interesting. So I want you to stay tuned because there will be some changes happening. Stay tuned with Tandem Nomads World. But I can tell you that deep down, I'm not changing a lot, right? I'm still doing a lot of the same things. And when I worked on myself, here's the one thing I know about myself. Whatever I will do in my journey as an entrepreneur, it has always been aligned with two things. The first one is how to make a bigger impact in the world. And the second one is how to help people live up to their full potential and create a ripple effect. So no matter if I do it through marketing, through mindset, through something else, that's who I am no matter what. And even if I don't do it through a business. So that's one thing where I want to continue to support you. My business model for now will continue to be the same, but I feel like some shifts will happen. I'm not yet clear where, how, but I'm already seeing it in the episodes. I'm already seeing it in the podcast and how I address you. I'm curious to know if you see it as well. So stay tuned. There might be some new announcements coming up, but ultimately, I'm here to help you align your business with your lifestyle and support you in making the impact you want to see in the world. I'm all about helping you build a business that makes an impact in the world while still building your financial freedom without sacrificing your well-being and the well-being of your loved ones. So this is what I am all about at the end of the day. So this was it. I'm sorry that this episode was much longer than usual, but it's basically my review of 7 years. You can give me that, right? If I can summarize 7 years in 48 minutes, it's not bad, right? So thank you so much if you listened until now. Thank you for taking the time to listen to this podcast. Don't forget that I have a second part to this episode. I share my journey and the people who are important to this journey. So if you're interested in knowing how my business evolved through the people who were part of this journey, please tune in to this second part that's available right after this episode. And thank you again for being part of my world. It just means the world to me. And if you're interested in my support, make sure to reach out. This is the end of the year. If you're listening to this in December, this is your time to sit down and reflect on your business. If you are thinking of making your business a priority next year, but while making yourself a priority, make sure to reach out to me so that I can show you how I can support you. So go to tandemnomads.com. Or you can also email me directly on the email address connect@tandemnomads.com. Can't wait to hear from you, and I can't wait to see you turn all your challenges into great opportunities, and hopefully you'll also have many things to celebrate down the road. Thank you so much, and thank you for these amazing 7 years together.